Yo, I'm Joe. I'm here as a guest on Rogue Underdog Gaming. I'm here to deck profile my commander deck for Magic.
What do you call this deck?
This is my 1/1 counter deck. The two commanders are gonna be Ashaya and Rayhan. They're 1/1 counter support theme. So one pumps up bigger whenever opponents cast spell, and the other one moves those 1/1 counters. I need to back down a little bit. Yeah, they pump so Ashaya and Rayhan like pump each other. Ashaya pumps up and then Rayhan moves those 1/1 counters whenever a creature dies. I'm gonna get right into this with my ramp. So I have Zimone. She lets you pay one and tap her to add a land from your hand, or you could pay 4 and draw 2 cards if you have 8 or more lands. Gretchen, she lets you pay 4 and draw a card and put a land from your hand. Zavala, she lets you pay 1, tap, and then add mana of any color combination for the greatest power among creatures that enter. And then you got this model dual face card. He's the Dean of Shadow. You can tap 1, add a 1/1 counter on a creature, it deals 2 damage to that creature, and then whenever a creature with a 1/1 counter dies, you draw a card. And then the other side is the Dean of Radiance. It has Flying Vigilance. You put a 1/1 counter on each creature that enters the battlefield this turn. But I typically use it for the Dean of Shadow just so I have some draw. These are actually going to be my creatures, not my legends, not my ramp, but a lot of my creatures ramp me anyway. And then I use Marin for the grave manipulation. And then Tulalang's going to be like a draw and ramp at the same time, because whenever you cast a creature, you draw a card and then you hit a land from your hand. Well, and then my next legend would be Vorinclex. He's going to double the 1/1 counters. Well, counters on everything. That's Planeswalkers and like other things, and he's going to half your opponent's counters. So like, I'll get into that later, more detail. And then I got Hamza. He's the Elephant Warrior. He gets discounted for each creature with a 1/1 counter on it, as well as like discounting other creatures with 1/1 counters for each creature with a 1/1 counter. Elvish Pioneer. So these are going to be my regular creatures that are in the deck. So Elvish Pioneer would let me play a land from my hand. That's Triomes and all that. It doesn't matter. A Warrior Grazer is going to do the same thing as Elvish Pioneer. As for Sentinel, it's going to be my draw whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell. 1 per turn, though. They get you can charge them tax on them drawing. And then Stealth, this Lizard Druid from the D&D set. He says tap, add a land from your hand on the battlefield. Gyro Sage is going to get add a green for each 1/1 counter on it. Conclave Mentor is going to put a 1/1 counter on it whenever he gets an additional 1/1 counter. So whenever you put a 1/1 counter on a creature, it gets 2. Dustshell Crawler is going to give a creature a 1/1 counter and then give all creatures with 1/1 counters trampled. Simic Manipulator is going to let you steal people's creatures. You may remove 1 or more 1/1 counters. So you have to remove the exact amount. Well, no, you have to remove some 1/1 counters to take control of people's creatures. Gurk Harbinger is going to let you search for creatures and some of your planeswalkers, your Gurks. Managorge or Hydra is just going to get stronger as your opponent, as any player cast spells. Springbloom Druid is going to let you sack the land like Hero. It's going to let you sack a land and then you may search your land for 2 basics. Fertilid is going to let you put more 1/1 counters on it to search your library for basics. Corpminus Jack is going to be a 1/1 counter doubler. Herald of the Secret Stream is really interesting. It's creatures you control with 1/1 counters can't be blocked. So going back to the Dustshell Crawler, you really wouldn't need it if you had a Herald of the Secret Stream. Skyclave Shadowcat's gonna just let you sack a creature, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then whenever a creature dies with a 1/1 counter, you're gonna draw a card. Nightshade Harvester is really interesting because it's whenever a opponent plays a land, they lose a life and you put a 1/1 counter on it. The Alina's Lancers, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's gonna let you search for legends such as like legendary artifacts, sorceries if you have any legendary sorceries, planeswalkers, the new Roland state, well, old Roland or whatever you want to call it, Roland recently stated that all planeswalkers are legendary. And I'm gonna get into my artifacts for the Ozolith. Whenever a creature, that's gonna move my 1/1 counters whenever creatures die. Renegade Map's gonna let me fetch a basic to my hand. But it enters that, so what you could do is when you go to your upkeep, you untap and then you sack right before you draw your first card of your turn. Soul Ring, we all know what Soul Ring is. Replicating Ring, just gonna add a mana of any color. I'm gonna make more of them if you opponents don't take care of it quickly. And then going back to Vorinclex. So, Replicating Rings is you put a counter on it if it has any more movement. So if you have Vorinclex out, you put a counter on it, it would double that counter. Because it doesn't matter what kind of counter it is. Armillary Sphere, that's gonna let you fetch 2 basics to your hand. We all know what Solemn does. He's just gonna fetch you a basic, and then when he dies, you draw a card. Spare Supplies, that's gonna let you draw a card when it enters, and then you pay 2 sack, draw another card. Predatory Hunger is gonna let you put a 1/1 counter on creatures for a successful creature spell your opponent's cast. Hydra's Stroke is gonna double 1/1 counter after putting a 1/1 counter on creatures. Branching Evolution is gonna double 1/1 counters, kinda like Corp Jack. Mari's Wake's gonna ramp you. And then Doubling Season is gonna pretty much do the same thing as Vorinclex without the added effect, but it's gonna have another added effect. So it's gonna double the counters on everything that enters. And then it's going to double your tokens instead of like halving your opponent. Now there is a little bit of difference between Doubling Season and Vorinclex. So Vorinclex would double Planewalkers that you uptick them and you play them. Doubling Season would only double them when they enter the battlefield. It's the wording difference in them. That's the only thing that's different with them is in the counterpart of it. Now I'm gonna get into my enchantments now after those creatures, which I just did. Now I'm going into like sorceries and stuff. Diabolic Vision lets you pay a blue and a black, and you look at the top 5 cards and you put one of them into your hand. Broken Bond is gonna have like 2 effects. You destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then you put a land from your hand on the battlefield. Harrow, which is like the one card I just showed you a little bit ago. Ringling Druid. Scale the Hike is really good because those are 3 drops with like 4 effects. You get a 1/1 counter on the 1 target creature. You gain 2 life, and then you play an additional land and you draw a card. Now it states you may play an additional land until the end of the turn, so you actually get a draw card, and then you may play an additional land. And then Yuri Ultimatum is going to be for when people start destroying our stuff, and we get that later in late game. Now I'm going to get to my land. I have a Fable Passage, which is essentially the Evolving Wilds, but it will let you enter your land enter untapped if you control so many other lands, basic lands. No, if you control 4 more lands, so it's not even basic. This land's gonna let you pay 1 sack and search for anything. Basic plane island or swamp. Metamorphic Expanse, that's Evolving Wilds, essentially command tower, that's gonna add 1 mana of any color from your commander. These 3 right here are gonna be the Thriving More, which is black and choose a color, Thriving Girl, which is green, choose a color, and then Thriving Island or whatever you want to call it. It's gonna be an island and whatever. the form Mirror Lake, I had that in here to copy creatures. It's some creatures. There are some creatures that I like to copy, and I'll get into that later. And I have the bounce, green and white land. Aspirin, so I can basic land cycle if I need a land. And then I'm gonna get into this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 swamp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plains, 2, 3, 4 islands, and then 11 forests. The main reason I have more forests and everything else is because a lot of it, a lot of my deck green is gonna be rampy. So I like to be able to get my lands out before I start drawing. That way I can draw on the stuff. I'm gonna show you 2 more creatures, and then I'll get into why they're in front. They're here. So Atraxa is gonna proliferate at the end of my end step and then evolution stage. So evolution stage is gonna proliferate when I land into the battlefield. So, Vajra Cat is one of the first planeswalkers I'm going to show you. And the reason I like him is he produces a 1/1 counter on a creature and then he gives them indestructible. So, let's say I want to make my creature indestructible and attack. I got that there for the turn. Now, I use him for his Nick 6 typically, but I'm going to go ahead and read the Nick 2 off. It says whenever one or more non-token creatures attack, I create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens tapped and attack. I haven't really used it for that. Like I said, I really use it for this bottom effect. I'll pay 6, and I'll create a 1/1 soldier token at the beginning of my end step. At the beginning of my combat, I create a 1/1 white soldier token and put a 1/1 counter on each creature I control. And then Yang's gonna let me just produce mana for creatures with 1/1 counters. Cameo Field Researcher, she's there for the next 7 because I could play like all my planeswalkers and ultimate them with 1 flex or double season on it for the most part. There's like 1 or 2 of them I can't. But her +1 is good. Lets you choose 2 creatures you draw a card until my next turn. So it says choose 2 target creatures until your next turn. Whenever either one of those creatures deals combat damage, you draw a card. So that's a draw effect. The next 2 is tap 2 target non-land permanent. They don't untap their next non-tap step. And then the next 7 is you draw 3, you get an emblem whenever you cast you may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying the mana tap. That's really good, because then you can just cast everything free. And then I got an Ajani. He's gonna be there for the next 2 mainly, but he's also really good because he has life gain. So he has a passive that says creatures you control have vigilance. And then it's gonna +1, you gain 2 life, and then -2. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker. And then I'm gonna go to Fairy Master of Time. He's there just in case I need to draw and discard, just so I can have a select, so I can select a select that I want to draw. So his +1 is draw, then discard, and then he has a -3, which target creature you don't control fades out, and then -10 takes 2 extra turns after this. Now the nice thing about him is his passive ability states you may activate loyalty abilities of him at any time, any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. So you can activate him on everybody's turn. So by the time, if you're playing like a 4-player game, he's gonna be a 7 by the time he makes it back if nobody attacks him. And then I run a Girth Unleashed. He's a 4-drop, 4 loyalty. His +1 is up to 1 target creature gets +3/+3 and then trample, and then -2 is gonna create a 3/3 beast token. If an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a loyalty counter on. But I typically use it for the next 7. You get an emblem at the beginning of your end step. You search your library for a creature card and it hits the battlefield. then you shuffle your library. Now I'm gonna go to Gurk, Caller of Beast. He's pretty much the same thing on the bottom, for the bottom ability, but better. So he's gonna +1, and then you're gonna reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest of them on the bottom of your library in any order. You -3, you may put a green creature from your hand on the battlefield, and then you -7, you get an emblem whenever you cast a creature. You search your library for a creature and put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I also run a Vivian Reed. Her ability is kind of similar to that Gurk I just showed you. You +1, you search the top 4 cards of your library, and then you may reveal a creature card from them or a land and put it into your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. -3, you destroy a target artifact, enchantment creature with flying. And then -8, you get your creature. You get an emblem with your creatures get indestructible, +2 vigilance and trample. Tazaret, Artifice Master, +1, you get a 1/1 token with Doctor token, and 0, you draw a card. If you control 3 or more artifacts, you draw 2 instead. And then you -9, you get to search your library for any permanent and you put it on the battlefield, and then you shuffle your library. And speaking of different steps, now I'm gonna get into a couple things in this deck. They're the infinite combos I have in here. The Presence of God. It states whenever you tap it, enchanted creature, you get a 1/1 warrior creature token. Midnight Guard. States whenever a creature enters the battlefield, another creature enters the battlefield, you want to tap it. So the thing is you have Presence of God attached to them. You tap them, you create a 1/1 elf warrior, then you want to tap them, and you get infinite tokens. The Spike Feeder. So you need Spike Feeder to go infinite with Archangel Spoon. And the reason behind that is Spike Feeder enters with 2 1/1 counters, and then you pay 2. You put a 1/1 counter on. You remove a 1/1 counter, put a 1/1 counter on another creature. But that's not what you need it for. You need it for the bottom ability. You remove a 1/1 counter, you gain 2 life. And then Archangel Spoon states whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I hit First Baloth with him because it states whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters get put on him, you get a 4/4 green beast creature token. Green beast creature token, yeah. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna get infinite 1/1 counters on all your creatures. But he's out, you would get infinite 1/1 counters on him, making infinite 4/4 beast creature token. Now this might interest a lot of people. Willbreaker and Forgotten Ancient. And the reason I like that is because Willbreaker states whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell or ability you control, you can't control that as long as you control Willbreaker. Well, Forgotten Ancient states whenever a player casts a spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of 1/1 counters from him onto other creatures. It doesn't state other creatures, so you can move all those 1/1 counters on him, a single 1/1 counter on each creature your opponents control, and gain control of all of them. Now, I also put Sage of Powers back here, just because he's really easy to go infinite with. You just gotta be able to put 5 1/1 counters on him in one turn. You remove those 5 1/1 counters, and you take an extra turn, and then you put 5 more 1/1 counters on him, and then you remove those and take another extra turn, so you got infinite extra turns with him. And that will be the end of my deck profile. Thank you.